Life is full of big questions you never thought to ask before. Like, how do you wash your hair in space? Thankfully, astronaut Karen Nyberg is here to show you how.
Sometimes the water gets away from you, and you try and catch as much as you can.
With her luscious long locks sticking up like a female Jimmy Neutron and water droplets floating away from her in all directions, it seems like this seemingly mundane chore isn't so easy when you're no longer grounded on Earth. Stick around to hear Nyberg's pro tips for anti-gravity hair care. Plus, heaps more weird, wonderful, and downright amazing internet content I'm about to serve up in this episode of Things You Will See for the First Time in Your Life. They say everyone is talented in something. For me, that's competitive cheeseball eating. But some people have talents that are a little more refined. Meet Adam Cheladin. He looks like a total ninja, right? Well, that's because he pretty much is. Adam is a 5-time world champion in instinctive knife throwing, a member of the International Knife Throwers Hall of Fame, and a 4-time world record holder for the Czech Book of Records. And he has one special talent that's sure to make your jaw drop. What are those lethal ninja rings he throws with such ease and finesse, I hear you ask? These ancient hoop-shaped throwing weapons are known as chakram. They were originally used by Sikh warriors during combat, and as you can see in Adam's video, you certainly wouldn't want to be on the receiving end. Chakrams of different sizes were worn around the arms, necks, and stacked onto turbans before being flung in many different ways. Their aerodynamic shape prevents chakrams from being deflected by the wind, and they could even be used in hand-to-hand combat like hardcore knuckle dusters, but with far more cutting force. Sheesh! Adam has perfected the art of chakram throwing and hopes to someday see knife throwing in its many forms represented in the Olympics. In fact, he's so skilled that he's even able to cut objects like a candle and a sparkler perfectly in half from an impressive distance. Jeez, it must really suck to be a tree around this guy. It goes without saying that you shouldn't try throwing chakram at home, especially if you want to keep all your fingers. How else would you smash those like and subscribe buttons? Oh, and don't forget to tickle that little bell icon too to make sure you're the first to know when I upload more amazing content. Ready for more? The deep sea is home to some of the most bizarre organisms the world has to offer. Most of us will never get a chance to explore what lies below the waves. But thanks to some dedicated researchers, us land dwellers can still feast our eyes on some incredible sights like this one without even getting wet. Since when were there fireworks in the deep sea? This stunning burst of vibrant color was observed by a team of researchers from the 211-foot-long exploration vessel EV Nautilus in the Revillagigedo archipelago off Baja California, Mexico at the end of 2017. While looking for a routine crab sample, scientists happened to capture the footage of this neon burst of beauty via their remotely controlled deep-water vehicle dubbed Hercules at a remarkable depth of over 4,000 feet. According to the team, what you're actually seeing here is the many frilled tentacles of the Halitrephes masi jellyfish. Radial canals that move nutrients through the jelly's bell form an amazing starburst pattern that reflect the lights of the ROV Hercules with beautifully bright splashes of neon yellow and pink. So without those lights, this colorful beauty would drift completely unseen in the dark. This creature may seem totally unbelievable to us, but after this encounter, the jellyfish probably had an even harder time convincing his pals that he'd just seen a UFO. Time for something a little different now. Everyone knows that it takes a whole lot of skill and determination to become a talented musician. Some people are gifted on guitar, while others prefer to tickle the ivories on the piano. But what if I said all you really need to wow people is a regular pencil? Check it out. Did you catch that? I bet the Star Wars fans among you had no trouble recognizing that familiar tune as the iconic Imperial March from the sci-fi movie franchise. This incredible feat of human ingenuity was dreamed up by Danny Ochoa, a student from Arizona. While writing down an equation, Ochoa realized that the scratching sound the pencil made sounded just like the Cantina theme from 1977's Star Wars: A New Hope. She just couldn't unhear the similarities, and after playing around with applying different levels of pressure, she finally perfected the tune. Listen for yourself. And after her rendition of the Cantina theme got such a warm reaction after she posted it on Reddit, Ochoa proved she wasn't a one-trick pony with the equally impressive Imperial March. Uncanny, right? I foresee a successful career as the world's first pencil musician for this former student. What's that, you say? You want another deep-sea mystery? Coming right up. Back in 2015, divers in Turkey were dumbfounded when they came across a truly bizarre organism floating 72 feet below the surface of the water. At first, they had absolutely no idea what this car-sized gelatinous blob could be. The transparent sphere measured in around 13 feet. After looking a little closer with the help of a torch, Istanbul-based diver Lüftü Tanrover discovered that countless dots were held within the peculiar goop. After the footage was uploaded online, Smithsonian Museum of Natural History expert Dr. Michael Vecchioni came up with a possible explanation for this mysterious discovery. The divers had actually stumbled across the largest squid egg mass Vecchioni had ever seen. Most squids lay their eggs in masses on the sea floor, while some carry a clutch of eggs in their arms to guard them. Dr. Vecchioni suspects that the huge sack of eggs in this particular clip belonged to local species Omastrephis bartrami, also known as the red flying squid. Sightings of eggs from this species are super rare because they prefer to lay them at great depths and they hatch quickly, meaning the egg masses only last a few days. In fact, no one has ever seen a red flying squid laying eggs, and how their offspring develop an ability to find prey remains a mystery. Would anyone else be weirdly tempted to try and pop this bad boy? Have you seen anything weird, wonderful, or downright amazing online? If so, you should totally get in touch at clips@beamazed.com for the chance of a shout out in a future episode of this series. Now let's get back to it. Isn't it strange how animals seem to manage to be so #relatable despite living totally different lives to us humans? Just check out this overindulged micropig and you'll see what I mean.
Poor this poor pig. See?
How many of you guys have ended up in a state like this after eating a little too much at the buffet? Well, this pig certainly looks fit to burst, but it's actually too much drink that's to blame here. Pigs aren't exactly known for having one too many beers, so how did this poor swine end up drunker than my Aunt Linda at an open bar? According to the pig's owner, a farmer from Kentucky, this hilarious clip is the aftermath of a night spent gorging on moonshine mash. Here's how it went down. The farmer had a broken deer feeder full of corn that got water in it, meaning the corn had fermented. Realizing it needed to be thrown out, he decided to dump it in one of the fields that didn't have any animals in it. But the next morning, he found that the pigs had escaped their own pen to enter the field and gorge themselves on the contents. In case you didn't know, many types of alcohol, including whiskey, are made using fermented grain mash, like barley, wheat, or corn. It doesn't seem like the poor pigs knew what they were getting themselves into, and although some were still standing the following morning, this poor fellow was a little too greedy.
What's the matter, girl? You have a little bit too much corn? You say, yeah?
The farmer can't help but see the funny side, but as he goes over to help the pig recover, things get even more hilarious.
Turn belly up. Hey, you. Whoa, ho, ho. The bed on my. Ho, come here, girl.
Somebody get this poor pig some aspirin. The world's rainforests are populated with some of the most jaw-dropping creatures you've ever seen. There are plenty of larger-than-life creatures living among the trees, but sometimes it's the smaller creatures dwelling on the rainforest floor that have the potential to wow us the most. Just allow me to introduce you to the giant red fire millipede. This incredible insect was captured on film by the wildlife photographer and rainforest enthusiast David Weiller in Marojejy National Park, Madagascar. The giant red fire millipede can grow almost 7 inches in length, and although that might make it seem like a pretty big bug, other species, like the giant African millipede, can grow up to double that size. Despite its fearsome name, most millipedes are harmless herbivores that feed on decaying leaves and decomposing vegetation or organic matter. Although the giant red fire millipede isn't actually venomous, unlike some centipedes, their vibrant color still acts as a deterrent to predators. Am I the only one who finds the way its legs move while walking completely mesmerizing? Millipedes have 2 pairs of legs for each one of their body segments, and while this particular millipede has about 160 legs, others can have up to 200. They should be thankful they don't have to invest in any shoes or socks. Despite our differences, humans and animals were born to get along. Of course, one big drawback is that animals can't exactly talk. But some animals have come up with some pretty creative ways of communicating with us. Just take a look at this donkey's unique way of saying hello. Okay, did anyone expect this friendly farmyard animal to open its mouth and sing in an octave only an opera singer could aspire to reach? Harriet the donkey, who lives in Galway, Ireland, has never been able to hee-haw like other donkeys, but it doesn't seem to affect her quality of life. Let's take a listen to that perfect vibrato one more time. Mwah! Magnifico! Have you guys ever heard of a little phenomenon called pareidolia? You might think that word means nothing to you, but if you've ever spotted a ghoulish face in a gnarled tree trunk, or a tap that looks like that squirrel from Ice Age, then you've probably experienced it firsthand. You see, pareidolia refers to an interesting byproduct of the way the human brain is programmed to recognize patterns. Sometimes, this ability can inadvertently cause us to spot faces that aren't really there in inanimate objects. It happens all the time. But in July 2016, pareidolia occurred on a surprisingly larger scale. Yes, that is a smiling volcano. More specifically, this is the Kilauea volcano, which is the most active of the 5 volcanoes that together form the islands of Hawaii. During this particular eruption in 2016, the camera crew from Paradise Helicopter Tours were stunned to discover that the Kilauea volcano appeared to be cracking a huge, cheesy grin, thanks to the way the red-hot lava was peeking through the rock formation. At the same time, lava from the volcano also reached the Pacific Ocean for the first time in 3 years. Anyone else getting an end-of-the-world vibe? If you ask me, these dudes hanging out on the edge of a cliff next to an erupting volcano seem like they're tempting fate. How many of you answered astronaut when you were asked what do you want to be when you grow up at school? Sure, it must be pretty freaking cool. But have you ever considered how difficult even the most basic tasks must be when you're floating around in anti-gravity? In 2013, former NASA astronaut and flight engineer Karen Nyberg, who was living aboard the International Space Station at the time, decided to answer people's questions about how to wash your hair in space by making a handy tutorial.
Let's see. To get started, these are the things I need. A bag of warm water, a little no-rinse shampoo, towel, and my comb.
As you can see, she uses pretty much all of the same things we need to wash our hair on Earth. The only thing she's missing is the shower itself, but that's where that handy bag of water comes in.
Sometimes the water gets away from you, and you try and catch as much as you can.
Next, it's time for shampoo. Just like with the water, she squirts a little onto her scalp and rubs it through to the ends of her hair. Anyone else think it totally looks like she's hanging upside down while doing it? Finally, she adds a little more water, combs through, and towel dries it a little. But here's the coolest part.
I think that's pretty good. And now as my hair dries, as the water evaporates from my hair, it will become humidity in the air, and then our air conditioning system will collect that into condensate, and it won't be long, and our water processing system will turn that into drinking water.
Pretty neat, huh? Well, at least we all know now that if gravity ceased to exist, we'd still have clean hair, even if we would all look like walking troll dolls. Is anyone hungry right now? If you skipped breakfast this morning, this should get your tummy rumbling. It might take a couple of glances to realize that this fried egg isn't really a fried egg at all. It's just a drawing of one. This is the incredible work of Italian artist Marcello Berenghi, who's a total whiz with pencil and paper. Berenghi specializes in hyper-realistic art by combining the mediums of painting and drawing to create art that jumps off the page. As you can see, this extraordinary artwork starts out as a two-dimensional watercolor painting, which acts as a base coat to work on top of. Next, Berenghi covers one half of the egg with acetate and uses an airbrush to apply black ink, which ingeniously creates a drop shadow, giving it that 3D effect. Once these coats have dried, Berenghi uses a mix of markers, white gel pens, and a whole host of colored pencils to painstakingly add each individual detail until it looks like you could peel that egg right off the page and eat it. Why not pick up a pencil and give it a go yourself? Everyone's got to start somewhere. Most people have pets, and it's important to keep your animals looking their best. That's especially true if you have horses, because those muddy hooves aren't gonna clean themselves. Thankfully, the process of horse hoof restoration is strangely satisfying. Horses are digitigrade animals, meaning they walk on their tiptoes with the help of a spongy pad beneath the heel. A horse's hoof is made of a protein called keratin, which is the same stuff as our fingernails. Just like fingernails, hooves don't stop growing, which means horses need new shoes every 4 to 6 weeks to prevent the hoof from cracking or hindering the horse's ability to walk. Just imagine if you never clipped your toenails. Hooves also grow in layers rather than being one solid piece. The outer part, known as the hoof wall, is made up of dead cells and supports the animal's weight. After cleaning off any muck, the farrier, a professional horseshoer, uses their specialist expertise to establish how much excess growth of the hoof wall to trim off without hurting the horse. You can tell how experienced Jake, the farrier in this video, is just by the way he handles his tools. That flip was super smooth. Inside the hoof wall is a spongy growth called the frog, which is the yellow part you see here. The frog acts as a cushion and pumps blood through the hoof as the animal walks, so it's important not to overexpose it too much by over-trimming. The white part surrounding the frog is the sole, which can also be trimmed down to make way for the new horseshoe to be fitted. Once the farrier has cleaned and trimmed the hoof, the new shoe is heated to make it more pliable and easy to shape to the horse's hoof. We might all cringe at that smoke, but the horse can't feel a thing. All that's left to do now is to fit the shoe by nailing it into the hoof wall. It might seem like this would also hurt the horse, but remember that the hoof wall is just dead tissue, and the farrier knows exactly how far to nail it in without touching the frog. The outside of the hoof is then filed to match up with the newly fitted shoe, and voila! This horse's much-needed trip to the salon is now complete. What kind of music are you into? There are plenty of genres to enjoy, from classical to heavy metal. But if a bit of techno is more your thing, then I have a great new artist to introduce to you, the pink oyster mushroom. Oh, you thought it was the stage name of a real person? Nope, it's an actual mushroom. This may not be the most melodic beat you've ever heard, but I'm willing to bet it still sounds better than any other mushroom music you've heard. So, how does it all work? Mushrooms, like humans and most living organisms, have a constantly varying electrical current running through them, which is known as bioelectricity. That means you can measure the changes in this electrical activity and convert it into a digital control signal. This signal can then be used to control various aspects of whichever synthesizer the organism is attached to. In this case, YouTuber Myco Loco has hooked this musical mushroom up to a Eurorack modular synthesizer with a techno patch added, and the results are amazing. The changes in the mushroom's electrical resistance, which have been converted into digital signal, are responsible for modulating various parameters like pitch, reverb, or delay. So, while the mushroom may not be creating the backing track itself, it's certainly in control of a lot of the bleeps, bloops, and various glitches that make it so unique. To get an idea of how much input the organism really has, here's a pink oyster mushroom playing a modular synthesizer without the techno patch. Play that funky music, baby! Let's wrap things up with a quick game of Guess the Animal now. Who can tell me what this is? Is it a fish? Is it an aquatic lizard? Is it, some kind of knobbly walking ribcage? When this utterly bizarre creature was filmed off the coast of Bali by scuba diver Imidik Benhalasa in 2016, it caused an unsurprising amount of confusion online. But if you thought it was weird enough already, just check this out. Okay, so this thing has a gelatinous vacuum cleaner for a head, too? It turns out this strange creature is actually a type of carnivorous sea slug called Melibea viridis, which can be found throughout the tropical Indo-West Pacific. As you can see, the sea slug is equipped with a large net-like mouth that it can spread out to snag its prey. The inner edges of this expandable hood are fringed with sensory papillae that help it detect when a tiny crustacean has unwittingly strayed into the death net. It may seem like a terrifying prospect, but Melibea are only known to grow a total length of 5 inches, so your chance of losing a toe to one while swimming in the sea are pretty low. These sea slugs also apparently smell oddly like fruit when they're removed from the water, thanks to special pheromones they use to communicate with each other. Sea slug scented perfume, anyone? Which of these things made your jaw drop the most? If you're craving some more brain food already, why not check out the previous episodes in this series next? Don't forget to get in touch at clips@beamazed.com. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.